First off, you need to play more than 1 hour, Sarah. You really do.
Welcome to Open Indie episode number 11, and I'm now connected with someone from France. Could you maybe introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Raphaël. I'm the exec producer for the game The Architect Paris, developed and published by the studio Enodo Games, located in France, hence me being in France.
Let's first talk about your current game, The Architect Paris, which has been released last month, so September 2021. It's, I would say, a builder. I played already like an hour into the game, so my feeling was there's lots of planning, constructing buildings, and also making photos of your constructions. But could you maybe describe an example? What exactly do we see, and maybe what do we hear in the game?
Yeah, sure. First off, you need to play more than 1 hour, Sarah. You really do.
I thought so.
I think it's a game that needs to be played for a long time before it actually you get to the point where you start having really a lot of fun. A typical scene of The Architect would be you impersonate a young architect just fresh out of school, and you've decided to settle down in Paris. I can later down the road explain why we chose Paris, but the story is so you just started your company in Paris, and you have to find contracts, and you will get clients, and they will challenge you to build things. So really, you're right, Sarah. It's a builder. It's really a builder. I wouldn't say it's a city builder, because every time we use that word, people would come back at us and say, city builders they're a genre that has its own codes, and you guys are not in these codes. And we would answer, yes, that's exactly what we wanted. We didn't want to make another city builder. We're big fans of SimCity. We're big fans of City Skylines. All the team has played hours of these games, and we love it. And we think that it's such a great job. It would be crazy to go after these guys. So we tried to find another way to think about the city, I guess. And the head of the company, being an architect at first, he really wanted to bring this dimension, I would say, into the gaming industry. Maybe, what, in most city builders, you're like the mayor of the city, but you're really not the mayor, because you're kind of a god also, like, looking downward. So we decided not to go this way, and we said, okay, what if we were just an architect? Of course, you're not going to spend your time designing every light switch and choosing the furniture. So it's not that type of architecture. It's more the urban type of architecture. What kind of buildings would I build in Paris if I had to reinvent it? Would I go with the traditional Haussmann style, what Paris is made of? I think it's 60% right now. Or would I be going for something more modern, maybe futuristic? What would be my choices as an architect, as an artist, in a way, to develop this? So that's the rough pitch, I would say, of the game.
If you talk about city builders, I always think about, well, you've got to construct your mill, and you got to gather resources and all your workers together, and then you got to fight for your city and stuff like that. But that's totally not what The Architect Paris is about. It's about redesigning Paris, right?
Exactly. It's not a management game. It's not about finding resources, which, by the way, is something that is not really realistic. It's if you need electricity, you just build a plant, and then you get electricity. If you need to go somewhere, you just build a road, and you just go. And if you're not satisfied with it, just delete it and start over. That's very fun, and I think we all had a lot of fun with these games. But it's not it's not real life in Europe in the the years 2020 and 2021. We're more thinking about how can we make cities evolve? How can we change things? How can we stop making cities bigger and bigger and larger, like gaining territory, which is pretty much the essence of all city builders is you start small and then you grow. Well, we went the other way around. You have Paris and you're not going to be able to go 1 inch, 1 centimeter farther than Paris. So you need to redesign it. You need to deal with people coming in and needing housing, people who want to have a job, people who want to um, have more parks, have more plazas. So you will have to face these things, but it's never just about adding things. It's always about dealing with what you have and making it evolve, change it, redesign it. You said it. It's really about redesigning the city to make it more modern. That was really what we wanted to achieve.
That sounds great, really. Can you like redesign really all of Paris, like also the Eiffel Tower?
How you wish. Everybody wishes. So the answer, the brutal answer is no. You cannot redesign everything. First off, the streets are Paris streets. And there's a mayor right now in Paris who's trying to change circulation and traffic. Believe me, she's having a hard time, and it's not fun because it's Paris. So she's trying to have less cars in Paris, and it's very complicated because you can't make a new street in Paris. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense, right? So the streets, you can't change them. What you can't change either is what we call the landmarks. So we identified in each neighborhood, we identified several landmarks. So big, it can be monuments. I mean, the Eiffel Tower is obviously one of the landmarks, if not the landmark of the game. The Louvre is also, but there are small churches. Sometimes it's a park that we decided to make a sanctuary of. And the idea was if we want people to reinvent Paris, it has to remain Paris in a way. And we thought about all these futuristic films, the movies, and even the games. What do you keep if you want people to know they're in Paris? Well, typically you will keep the Eiffel Tower, even if you change it a little bit. So we wanted we wanted our city to remain Paris. So the Eiffel Tower, you can't touch it. The Louvre, you can't touch it. But there are projects like kind of rewarding projects. We call them the main projects. And these are achievable when you play career mode, because we have two play modes. When you play career mode, you can achieve these projects when you reach a certain level. And these projects might, in some cases, touch a little bit of the landmark. I'm laughing because I know that some people in Paris would die if they saw what we did with the Eiffel Tower. And I let people go on the Steam page and look at what we have, because I think we have nice images now.
So people in Paris really want to redesign the Eiffel Tower? Are they really dreaming about that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Parisians players are really our target. I think a lot of people living in Paris want to keep the city as it is. But we have a few Parisians that I know of who love the game. One of them is a student in architecture, so obviously it's something that he likes to play with. But I know that a lot of people in Paris are like, no, don't touch the city. It's like, no, don't change anything. So
it's perfect,
unless there's like a place they don't like.
So you already said there's like this career mode where you've is it like a story mode, you would say, right?
It's a bit of a story mode. Actually, the last version of the game is the story mode. It's really what we released last. The career mode is halfway between a story mode and a big tutorial on how to play the game. Really, what we wanted is the idea of the game is sandboxy. It's really what's behind the game is don't punish the players. Just give them tools and they can play with them. But to play with these tools, you have to understand a few things. Obviously, it's a big game. It's not easy to play. You have to spend some time, and you've experienced it. You might confirm this. You have to spend some time trying to get acquainted with the tools so you really start having fun with it. So the story mode, the career mode, aims at this, tries to bring you through the story of this young architect that will have to start with small projects and then move one step up and do bigger projects until you reach the point where you will be able to go from, because you start in one neighborhood, and then when you're done with this neighborhood and you've succeeded, then you can open the next neighborhood. We can go through the gameplay later. So yeah, to answer your question, it's not really a story mode. It's more of a tutorial, like a huge tutorial that you can play several times. And when you feel ready, you don't need to have people telling you what you should do. Then you can start making your own projects and you can start really redesigning the whole city the way you want.
But I think that's good. Like, I needed some guidance in the beginning, like just to see what tools there are, what things I can do. Like, one quest, if you can call it, I had was like redesigning like this plaza I had to build, and I had to plan a rectangle. So I needed to deconstruct some buildings and then like paint this rectangle and put the plaza there. And that was kind of difficult because, yeah, you were not allowed to deconstruct too many buildings. So it kind of had to fit in some way.
Yeah, this one is a tricky one. It's a tricky one because there's budget involved in this one. So you have to be very careful about what you destroy and what you build because the budget is tight. I know that's when, well, you went all the way there. It's already good. It means that you've spent some time playing the game. Yeah, it's sometimes it's a bit of a puzzle, and you have to find one of the right ways. What we tried, I think, succeeded to do is that there's never just one way to do things. You can always find your way to achieve the project and to manage your goals and to go the next step. So that was an important thing. So it's tricky, but it's always doable, obviously. And sometimes people come up with solutions that we had never thought about. And that's what's fun, right? You see people, it's not like people cheating in an FPS game. So like, it's not a bug. It's just like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's smart. You could do that. And that's why we have a community that we love, because they share a lot of their solutions and images. And yeah, it's fun to see how people will try sometimes just to reach the goal, and they don't really care about how it looks. Obviously, you can tell. And some other people will be like, I can't reach the goal. And sometimes it's because they're so careful about what they're doing that it's hard for them to just, they don't want to destroy this building because they find it beautiful, but they will have to. So maybe they can find a way to replace it with something else that they like too. That's the idea.
I also shared my constructions with the community, but mine were not that special. I just played a bit around with the photo mode in the game and did something with color, and I don't know, that it kind of looks good and looks like I made something big, but I didn't know. I had to learn the mechanics.
I haven't looked, but I will. Now that you've told me, I will look at what you shared.
Please don't.
Obviously. No, I'm sure it's going to be great.
I hope so. I can't wait to hear what you say about it. How did you reconstruct Paris in your gameplay? Like, did you do it more modern, or did you leave it more like it is?
Oh, I usually say that the map that you play with is, I'd say, about 60 to 70% accurate. So all the streets are there. If you took the map we have and you just like overlay the real Paris, the streets are the same. What we've changed a little bit is the shape or the composition of blocks, because in reality a block is a group of buildings that is surrounded by streets. Okay, for those who wouldn't be familiar with the term. So sometimes you have blocks in Paris that have buildings so small that it would be crazy to ask players to click on them. It would be, it would be a nightmare actually. So we decided to remove these and sometimes to make it simpler. But every time you see a building, the real Paris will have the same type of building. So there again, we had to simplify things. I have to explain that the map that you play with is entirely procedural. So it means that it's when you start the game, there's only data, right? And the map will be built when you start the game. This was the biggest challenge we had to meet, was to reproduce Paris entirely, or at least all the center of Paris, all the historic Paris. And so we had to make adjustments. We could not. Some buildings look the same, but when you look at them closely, you see that, I don't know, balconies are not the same. Sometimes there's an addition of a little corniche at the top. Obviously, we could not go into such details. It would have meant to have all the buildings done by artists. It would have been so heavy that I don't think any computer on Earth could run it. So we had to simplify it, but it's pretty impressive. And every time Parisians played the game, what they do is usually go to the place that they know. And I never found anyone disappointed, like saying, no, it's not like this in reality. One thing I have to admit, the Paris that you play with in the Architect is much cleaner than the real one. We didn't spend a lot of resource making it dirty. So yeah, that's something we get sometimes. Just like, yeah, you should add some papers on the streets. It's not as clean. But we like the idea that people will play with a Paris that they like, that they dream of. So it has to be a bit of a cartoon/movie Paris, and that's why we kept it the most beautiful city in the world.
How did you play the game?
How did I play it? Like as a player, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a good example because I'm the producer, so all producers do the same. We play the game always with a corner of the mind, just like, okay, what's not going to work properly? So I don't think I ever played it as a real player. I always played it with eyes open, trying to find things that couldn't fit or could be better, but when I play it, I tend to destroy a lot of things. I lived in Paris for many years. It's not the case anymore now, but I lived in Paris for many years, and there are places that I really don't like. So I would tend to destroy what's there. I would put a lot of parks, but then you have to meet some goals also if you want to keep playing. So you cannot do exactly what you want when you're in career mode. I am, for one, more sandbox oriented, so I would just go and crash everything and just make big buildings or not. But your listeners have to know there are a million people playing this game better than I will ever play it. So go to the community, look at what people are doing with it. It's amazing.
The most important question, why Paris?
That's an easy one. When we started, the idea was to give players a city and tell them, okay, you've played games where you had a map that was given to you and you had to deal with it, right? If there's a river, then you have to go bridges, riverbanks. You have to think your city with these parameters. Now, if we give you something that exists and that you can't expand, what would you do with it? So that was step one. Step two was, okay, what city? Do we invent a city? Do we create a city? Or do we give them an existing city? And we saw a lot of games that had reproduced existing cities, and there was some kind of I wouldn't say a competition, but it was some kind of a race, just trying to make it the most realistic city. let me um, go backwards a little bit. Uh, Enodo Games was founded by two architects who had founded another company before that called Enodo, not Games. It's just Enodo. It's the mother company. This company has been producing virtual cities or buildings or neighborhoods for big urban projects. Just like big companies, they will move into a new building. They want to have an idea of what it's going to be like outside, inside, everything. Cities would come to them and just say, okay, can you reproduce this neighborhood because we have a project there and we don't know how it's going to be um, inserted. How it will look? So that's what they've been doing. When they started Enodo Games, the idea was to produce a game, but obviously the ability to reproduce a city was already there. So that was probably one of the reasons why they decided to go with an existing city. Apart from the fact that it was fun to just give a real city to the people and just see what they would do. And Paris is probably, I tend to think that Paris is probably the city that anywhere in the world, if you ask people to draw Paris or to tell you something about Paris, they will always have a mental image, I mean, most people will tell you Eiffel Tower. Some people will tell you l'Arc de Triomphe, le Louvre. Some people will talk to you about the cafes and the restaurants. But I think even if you've never been to Paris, now if you ask people Berlin, and I think there's a lot of people who will know what to talk about, but it's probably not as easy.
Yeah, airport.
Maybe. No. I mean, there's not just that. I mean, with New York, Manhattan, especially, what city in the world does bring a mental image so easily as Paris? So we thought it was fun. Now, I must say that some players very early on, as soon as we started talking about the game, some players were like, "Oh, why did you choose Paris? Why we don't want to destroy Paris? It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world." And we're like, "Well, you're not supposed to destroy it. You're supposed to change it. It's like." But I think there's room for other ideas and other projects, and obviously that's something we're looking forward.
Are you already thinking about doing more cities, like more architect games?
We've been thinking about this for a long time, Sarah. Now we had to make Paris. That was already a big challenge. Now, if any producer anywhere, any editor, publisher, I mean, somewhere listens to this podcast and wants to talk about another city, please move forward and we'll discuss it. No, I mean it. It's of course it's something we'd love to do. We'd like to extend the experience, maybe in a different way, maybe change a little bit the rules, the gameplay, but eventually, obviously Paris was just starting point.
But you would need more support to make similar games to that.
Oh yeah. It's a big game, so it's something that takes a lot of resource.
Okay, I see. What type of players will most likely have fun with the Architect Paris?
I hope everyone can have some fun. Now, if you only play FIFA on Xbox, obviously it's not the kind of game you're going to like. You have to be creative. Yeah, you have to be creative. Yeah. You have to. Yeah. And you have to be patient, a little bit patient, because you have to learn how to use the different tools that we have designed. There's a drawing board where you can really design your buildings, but there's also a part of this drawing board, it's called the plot editor, where you can really draw the lines of your land.
Like a rectangle, yeah.
Like the rectangle, exactly. And there are drawing aids. By the way, I don't know, Sarah, if you found them, but you can have a way to make sure that it's a rectangle.
Yeah.
Okay.
True, yeah. But I had too many on, I think, because the numbers were overlapping. I was like, oh.
Okay, we can do
Yeah, I
we
had
can do
some
some support with
difficulties.
you.
That would be great.
We'll do some support. What I mean is that there's a lot of tools. Some of them are easy, like really easy to get to understand, and some take a little more longer. But um, what's fun is that you can always undo whatever you've done. So that's cool. There's no big deal, and it's not the kind of game that you can lose, So grab it, play it. If you can't find your way around it, there's a community that is really helpful, and we have people that have been playing very early on because the game was in early access, as you said. Since February, so we already have a lot of players that are really familiar with it, and now we also have modders that start pitching in their own architecture, and this will be very fun.
The Architect Paris is your very first game, and also Enodo Games was only founded this year. So because it's your very first game, what challenges did you have and maybe still have?
Well, same as any independent studio, we were nobody when we started. We were lucky because, I mean, we had the experience of the mother company, so we already had produced things, and we were able to show what we were able to do pretty fast, I would say. Now, the biggest challenge was reproducing Paris. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of time to find how we would do it, and it took a lot of time to actually do it. So this time, of course, time is money. So we needed funding for a long period of time, because for the longest time it was really hard to. We were sure that we would achieve it, but it was hard to convince people that we actually could make a map that is 100 square kilometer wide, which is the largest map ever made in a game. So it's when we started, like people were like, okay, you can make one street, but can you make two streets? Okay, you can make two streets, but can you make a full block, etc., etc. And so it took a lot of time because we didn't have the experience maybe of an older studio. So we started a bit out of the blue, like saying, oh, we can do it. And obviously people were like, yeah, we believe you, show us. And so for indies that haven't had the experience, guys, just be patient, be strong, because it's a hell of a road to go and get people to invest in your game. But once you found the good partners, the right partners, then it's really, really great. And once we had secured budget, obviously we had proofs to provide of what we were able to do. But once we had secured everything, it was really exciting. So I would say it's both the hardest part and the most exciting part is really to bring your project to the world and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And then you have to convince them, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works and then it doesn't work anymore. And you have to always keep your team going. I really had fun producing this. Really, it was. We didn't sleep a lot, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I always admire this. Like that, people like you, they say, we just try it. Yeah, we have this idea, and we are creative, and we're having fun, and we want to do this project. That's our goal, and I think it's great that you just go on and do it. Yeah, of course, things never work out the way you want them to be. That's life. Yeah, things can go up, things can go down, but I think it's great that you did it.
Well, thank you. It was and it was really a fun ride. And if you believe in your project, there's nobody can stop you. You just need to find the right people to make it with.
As we already said, the Architect Paris release was in September 2021, and the early access phase started in February 2021. What player feedback did you get in the early access phase?
Oh, it was tough. Players are tough, but we knew it. Actually, to be honest, we had to release the game at one point, so we decided to go with early access as early as February, and we gave ourselves a few months to finish the game. That was not the initial plan, but as you just said, nothing ever goes by the plan exactly. So we did that. We released something that was very early access, I would say. There was no real gameplay in it. It was really the sandbox part, which is kind of weird because most of the time studios will release the story mode first and then give you the sandbox mode. We had to go the other way around for a lot of different reasons. So we released something that some people had been waiting for years, because we started talking about the project publicly as early as 2014. And yeah, that's when we really started, saying, "Oh, we'd like to make a game." And do you know how it started, Sarah? That's a wonderful story. I'm just going to take a few seconds to tell you what was. Enodo, so the mother company, released a demo reel, just like any company would do, but it's the level of Enodo, and believe me, these guys are crazy good. So it was just what they could do, like commercial. And somebody took that video and posted it on YouTube with the title SimCity 6. And it got 2 million views in a few days. And then people were like, this is not a game. And some people were like, no, it's Enodo. Actually, I found the same video there. And look, it's just a company making that. And a lot of people were like going, yeah, but that would be so great if it looked like this. Why don't city builders look like this? Look at that. They're good. And so that's when it was in 2011. And that's when we really were like, okay, maybe we should try to do the game, because we had the idea of the game, obviously, but we thought it was the right time to do it. And then 2014 is when the company was actually started. For many years, it just remained empty. It was just conceptualizing thing. So back to your question, when we released, it was so sandboxed that a lot of people were disappointed, and a lot of players were like, "Oh, what do you want me to do with this? You don't guide me. You don't give me anything to do." And we told them, we're going to think about it. Obviously, we have ideas about a story mode. Now, the concept of the game is really to try and be as creative as you want and as you can. So it was tough. Early access was tough because we had to convince people that we were moving. But we have a wonderful team that was really ready to switch, to take U-turns if needed, to change things. So that really helped, because when we started seeing that people were really disappointed, we're like, okay, so we need to go full story mode for the next few months and come up with something that they will really like. Hopefully they are, and they will. But that was, it was complicated, and we felt a bit guilty because we didn't want to disappoint people. And it's always hard to have your players saying, that's not the game I wanted. Now, some people really loved it immediately, and they're still playing sandbox, but I think a lot of people were waiting for the career mode to get back to us and to come back to the game, actually.
Yeah, but it's great that they said something, so then you know what people would want, and you did build in now this career mode where you are being guided. I'm also like this type of player. I also need a guide always, and sandbox is not so much for me, because I also then don't know what to do and also don't know what I can do. So yeah, but it's great. I mean, that's also the point of early access, I think, to just get a feeling of what players would want, what they would need. And so But I hope the feedback is better now.
Yeah, it is. It
Okay,
is. It is. It's much.
perfect.
Well, it wasn't bad. It's just that some players just lost interest for a while because they tried the game and it didn't meet their expectations. So they didn't play it, and if they didn't play it, they didn't give any feedback. Now we're hoping that all of them, most of them at least, will come back to the game, but they have to try it again and tell us. And I mean, we still have a little room for improvement, even though now we're the final game is out. We would like to move on to a new project.
Which one?
I'm not going to tell you anything about that. We have
What?
several ideas. We're a studio.
Okay. Are you still doing for the Architect Paris some more updates? Or I read something about more designs for the game.
Yes, there will be a few more updates and designs and content that will be added. Also, because the game just released, we have a support team that is ready to make adjustments if needed. And I mean, I'm not certain that there will be a lot of them, but I'm kind of certain that there will be adjustments to be to make. There's always things that can be unbettered, and yeah, and we're trying to have a Mac version also, which that's a big thing because we're thinking about people playing with Macs and they might want to play the game. So even though they can, because you can play with GeForce now, the NVIDIA platform. So I know some people who don't have like big machines and they play the game through GeForce now and they're having fun with it. It works really well. And because it's not a shooter, it doesn't matter if sometimes it lags a little bit. You don't lose your game. You're not mining Bitcoins.
What moment in your life as a developer or game producer will you always remember? Is there something?
Well, it's the first game release, the early access release was just, how would I say that? It was a relief. At the same time, it was probably one of the most stressful nights. Um, we had been working on this project since 2014 for some, and hard work had started late 2017. So when we released in February, it was over. It was uh, 3 years and some months after we started. It's not that big. I mean, some games take 5 to 10 years to develop, but to us, with the means we had, with the resources we had, it was a long ride and it was a bumpy ride. I think what we achieved as a young studio, not a lot of seniors on the team. Most people were pretty fresh to the industry. Um, I think we achieved something really, really great. So release day of the early access, the first time the game actually was given to people, is something I will always remember. The team was all there at the studio. We had bought everything we needed to have a nice evening. There was obviously champagne involved because it was release day and we're in France. But nobody wanted to drink anything. Nobody wanted to eat anything before we had the first feedbacks. And so everywhere we had this big screen, and we were looking at what people were saying on the Discord channel of the studio and the game. And so everybody was like, let's not do anything until there's one people saying, I started playing and I love it. And that was it was a great moment, and we were all excited. And then the next day we had to start working because obviously some things were not perfect, and so we knew that it wasn't just the beginning of something. It wasn't the end of anything.
But that's a nice memory, I think. May I ask where you're getting support from at the moment? Because you said before that you're looking for a publisher still.
Well, we have financial partners that have been following us. Now, that was on this project, and this project has come to or is coming to an end. We'll soon have to find new partners for new projects. So yeah, right now the support is from these partners, the sales obviously, and and that's why I was saying we're going to need more support if we want to start. So we already started trying to find new partners or the same ones.
Are you getting some funding in France?
Yes, France, I think, is the second best place in the world for indie studios and for studios
Okay,
in
what's the
general,
first
because
best?
I would say Canada, because they have tax breaks that are even bigger than France. But France has a very nice program for the video game industry. So you can have help in pre-prod. You can have help just writing your scenario. You can have help in production, and then once you've launched production, there's a tax break that is 30% of your expenses. So it's a lot. And not everyone is eligible, but most studios will get the help. It takes a lot of work to have the paperwork filled, but that's always the case.
That's
But
everywhere,
it's
yeah.
really, yeah, it's everywhere. So it's
Uh,
really helpful, and we got the first help we got from the government was from the CNC, the National Centre National du Cinéma, and it's not just cinema. So they're helping production for video games. The, the 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 file was pretty heavy to make. Once we had done it, it was really easy to get the help. So I would encourage any studio in France to really go there, ask them how they can be helped, and the people there are really helpful.
would you also say that because of that, France is really great, especially for indie developers?
I think if you're indie, like very small structure, France is a nice place because there's a lot of help. We have a lot of creative people. There's a lot of video game schools, so you will easily find people trying to work on different projects. Now, the downside of France would be the fact that labor law is pretty complicated. So you need to know your way around if you want to start hiring people. So as long as you don't hire people, if you do your own game, or if you're a couple of friends and you want to do your own game, you want to make your game, go for it. Settle in France, find partners, go to the government, ask them how they can help. That's a good idea. If you want to start a company, you'd better find some people who have experience with that, because it's a country where there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of rules, and sometimes it's hard to find your way around. So don't go there like it's not America where you just like register a company and start hiring people and everything is cool. France has a lot of rules, but I think Germany does too, right?
I think it's first place with paperwork, but maybe second place is France then. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could
Let's
be
not make it a race.
a competition.
Yeah, let's not make it a competition.
Is there something you still need or miss as an indie developer?
No, right now at the moment we don't. We're not at a point where we need. I mean, we need money for sure, be it from partners for new projects. We hope the game. We hope people will like the game as much as we liked making it. And no, right now what we would really like is to have a lot of feedback on the game, because obviously our next project will be in the same vein. Now that we've achieved this, it seems to be the smart thing to do, just like stay in something architecture, city related. So all the feedback that people are giving on Steam, on the Discord of the game, that's things that feed us to start a new project or to make this one better. So please, I know that all studios say that, but we spend a lot of time reading what you guys write when you play our game, the advice or sometimes the disappointment. We take everything under consideration, and it will help us make this one better, but it will also help us make a new game that might be even better in the future. That's probably what we need now.
Would you say in general that you're happy with the game? Did it turn out the way you wanted it to be?
Oh no, obviously it's not the game we started to think about years ago. I mean, I don't know if any studio has ever made the game exactly they wanted to. Um, it's really close to the idea we had, but along the way, and being indie and it being our first game, we had to make decisions about things that we would not be able to do. Uh, we had a lot of ambition, especially if you've played the game, you know about people, planet, and profit, which are the three sides of the same dice, I would say. Um, Initially, this was supposed to be much more present in the game. It was supposed to be much more about sustainability, and we had to come to the conclusion that if we took that road, it would not be a fun game because we didn't have the time and resource to make it a fun game. I'm not saying it can't be done, but we just didn't have that kind of time. So we stuck to what we knew we could do, which was creativity and giving tools for people to play with and to just like take a step back and look at their city and like be happy about what they've done. And if they're not, then start over. Um, so yeah, I'm happy with what the game is, but I can't say that it's the game we had in mind in 2014 when four of us started talking about this.
Still, you made it. It's your very first project, and I think all the learnings you'll get from it, that's something you can then put to good use in your next project. And yeah, I'm really excited what that project will be in the end. Keep us updated, please.
Thank you. I will. I sure will, Sarah.
Perfect. Then, Raphaël, thank you so much for being here on the show. And I wish you all the best. And yeah, I can't wait what there's still to come.
Thanks for having me, and all the best to your podcast and to all the listeners. I was really happy to be part of this.